Hey guys, Tired Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully you guys are doing well. It's been an interesting day. A lot of things coming to light in regards to Lee here. Pretty much certain almost at this point that we could be looking at a landfall here. Look at some of the key messages, and here's some impacts for Bermuda too. Tropical storms conditions expected tomorrow morning and probably going to be persistent, maybe even into late Thursday afternoon. Hurricane watches are now issued across parts of the Northeast, particularly around Maine, where we're expecting the area that's most likely to receive a landfall here. Storm surge and flooding, no real surprises here across the Northeast coast, in particular around New England, especially towards Cape Cod and the Nantucket regions as well. And then also, of course, tropical storm conditions are likely. We currently have tropical storm watches here, and I'm going to show you guys on the map in just a moment here. But the tropical storm watches are in the yellow, and the hurricane watches are in the pink. I'm expecting these watches to probably be upgraded into warnings by probably tomorrow afternoon for both of these areas. Here's what Lee is looking right now. We have current sustained winds at around 105 miles an hour, and we've finally gotten to see that northward turn take place here. Now it's just going to be blasting off to the north here. We should expect its forward speed to really increase over the next couple of days. Whereas before we were seeing it at about 7 miles an hour, we're now looking at 9 miles an hour and likely to be increasing soon. This is going to probably be making landfall as maybe a minimal hurricane or a really strong tropical storm. Nonetheless, the impacts are still going to be significant. And this is a very large storm now. If we were to take a look at it on satellite here, which we're going to do real quick once we go back. This is what we're looking at right now based off of the last satellite imagery at 7:57 Eastern time. Storm's really increased in size here. Then also here's our other areas of interest. Here's Margot, which of course is going to remain pretty docile. No real land impacts, just a fish storm in that case. And then our new storm, our new soon-to-be storm, which is likely to be named Nodule, is starting to come together nicely. We'll talk about that in another video, because obviously the main attraction here and the greatest concern is, of course, with Lee, as it's gonna more than likely be making landfall at this point. But of course, we're going to take a look at the forecast models here. Here's a look at our current storm right now. A little bit weaker than what it's being depicted as on here. Of course, the 18Z run has not come in yet on the HAFS-A. So as we continue to go forward here, storm's probably going to be weaker. But as we continue to roll on here, you can see that this storm actually looks to be just under hurricane strength at this point. Put it in perspective for you, 65 knots is 75 miles an hour. So have a very strong tropical storm on our hands. And interestingly, some really strong winds on the left side too. So again, even though you aren't going to be directly within that eye over towards the Cape Cod and Nantucket Bay regions, we're going to have to keep an eye on you for wind damage, especially, of course, storm surge as well. And then eventually, by late Saturday night and Sunday, at least according to the HAFS-A, we make landfall either right on the very edge of southeastern Maine. I'm really leaning more so towards Nova Scotia and Atlantic Canada being affected by this directly. And this moves out pretty quickly, though, as we've been talking about before. By Monday, this storm's already out to sea. Might be a little slower than what we're used to with most of these northern storms, because usually they'll pick up in pace pretty dramatically. We'll see them move up to about 21 miles an hour or greater. For some reason, I'm not thinking that's the case here, but we'll see how things play out. Impacts are probably going to last throughout Monday and maybe even into Tuesday. That's one thing that I can't get a great scope of. What I can get a great scope of course, right now is the rainfall. And that's a big concern of mine, especially for anyone that's on either side of the storm, left or right. So here we are drawing close to the day as far as landfall is concerned. This is the GFS we're looking at now as far as potential rainfall rates. So anywhere in the yellow and the orange, we could be looking at up to about 5 to even 8 inches per hour rainfall rates, even greater than that, close to 10. And right as the storm's making landfall, notice what was on the left side here, heading right into southeastern Maine. So we need to be extra leery of flash flooding, of course. Tropical downpours are nothing to play with. I have a video where over here in Georgia, even though we didn't have any sort of tropical system nearby, we just got influence from feeder band or really just ambient moisture, and we got slammed 5 inches in one night. So don't play around with it. It's probably one of the most slept on hazards, in my personal opinion. But nonetheless, here, pretty much a similar deal here as far as the Nova Scotia and Atlantic Canada regions. We're also going to be watching it too. It's not depicting as higher rainfall rates, but nonetheless, I still think it's going to be pretty dangerous here too. I think that maybe we aren't accounting for as good for the right side as good either. Hopefully the structure isn't super impressive, because that's another thing that tends to happen with these more northward going storms. The structure really starts to fall apart. I'm expecting this to be lopsided, but where it ends up being lopsided is still up for debate here. I'm seeing a lot of indicators towards the left side probably being the more impressive side of the storm, but we'll see what happens. But as far as Canada is concerned, and this is really the first time I think I've ever truly gotten to talk about Canada here, we're looking at Environment Canada here with its tropical cyclone information statements. So basically anywhere from central and southwestern Quebec, you need to be on the lookout here. That, of course, includes New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward, and many more, and around the marine zones, Halifax, and many more as well. So the main hazards, of course, are going to be rainfall, wind, surge, and waves, or surge/waves, if you want to be technical. But as expected, I do think there could be a possibility of maybe a spin up or two tropical tornadoes, but it's definitely not going to be quite like an Idalia type situation. So let's be clear on that. We're not dealing with a category 4 at landfall, and we're not dealing with a super organized storm either. This is going to be on the verge of pretty much going post-tropical, as we indicated on the cone here, because right at this point here, it's the last time we see it at hurricane, and this is probably going to go post-tropical just as soon as it makes landfall here. So it'll be interesting to see how things play out with that. Last thing to really look at here, and we're going to start out by looking at more so towards Atlantic Canada, then look more towards the northeast. If we were to go back a little bit, because I'm a little too far ahead here, this is what we're potentially going to be looking at 6 days from now as far as moisture is concerned. This is looking all the way into Tuesday, and you can see that the heaviest rainfall, of course, is going to be offshore, because this is going to be a weakening storm by this point. But over towards southeastern Maine, this rainfall is going to be in millimeters. But to convert that, I actually have a little calculator right here. So it's at 77 millimeters. It's about 3 inches of rain. 51 is about 2 inches of rain even. So seeing these areas here where we're at about 76 millimeters here, that's going to be probably the heaviest pocket of rain. Over here towards further northern parts of Atlantic Canada, we may have to keep an eye out for heavier totals. We could even see up to about 119, which would be about close to 4 or 5 inches maybe. I'm doing that one off the top of my head, so I might be wrong there. But this is probably going to be the real battle zone right here as a whole. If I can get my pen to work here. I don't know what's going on with it today. It's the second time in a row I've had that problem. Okay, I think I got it fixed now. Yep, there we go. But I think the hot zone is definitely going to be this corridor right up in here. Not my best circle, but could also include some parts of southeastern Maine too. A little secondary area that pops up right here as well. Jeez, my drawing's really bad tonight. That's what happens when you're tired. But this little area right here, we might have to watch that as well. All right, but that being said, we'll in the video here. I'm a little off right now, I'm not gonna lie. It's been a long day of work, almost 10 hours every day, so forgive me if I seem a little off kilter, but we will be covering this on Saturday. We do intend to go live on the channel here, so hopefully you guys can tune in. Make sure you're also hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, and hit that share button. Got a lot of interesting stuff coming for the channel as well soon, so that's also another reason why I'm pretty tired. Been working on that as well, so trying to improve, trying to make things better here. Any feedback, let me know in the comments. Any thoughts as well, any questions. But until then, this has been Metalhead Weatherman. You guys take care and have a good night. I'll see you soon.